All right, I think we are live. So um, we will wait for 2 minutes for people to join in. Yeah, it's a beautiful evening today. The Durand Cup is starting. One of the Asia's oldest and one of the world's oldest tournament is kicking off today. With that, we also have the Olympics that have started. So extremely, sporting times ahead for the country and in the world. So we thought of having a small discussion regarding the latest updates in Indian football. So we'll wait for the initial 2 minutes for people to join in, and then we shall start our conversation. Right.
So who's playing today at the Duran
So
Cup?
in the Durand Cup, we have both Mohan Bagan and East Bengal playing. There is one new team from Nepal, I guess, and there's another one. I don't know the opponents for East Bengal. So yeah, both of them are playing. And in the Olympics also, India is playing today. So a lot of action happening. We just completed the Wimbledon prior to this. Then the Copa was there, the Euros were there. So a lot of action packed, year for us. And this is we have started this live session for the people who have just tuned in. This live series of sorts that we are trying to do has been happening for around 2 months now. Yeah. And we try to discuss a lot on the latest happenings on world football at large, and whatever is happening inside the pitch, on the pitch, off the pitch. So we try and discuss all of those. Right. So yeah. A few people have joined in. We have 6 to 7 viewers online waiting for Moon to come in. Fantastic. We have the initial few traction, and I think we can start. So, welcome to today's show. I'm Ronak. I look after the marketing of Njogu School of Sports. And alongside me, I have Mr. Kishore Tai, who happens to be my mentor for within the company and beyond the company as well. So, just a brief about him. He has been running BBFS since 2010. He started off in 2010, and in between, he also had a small stint with the All India Football Federation as the chief operating officer. And during that time, the short tenure between 2015 to 2018, India's ranking, shifted from 172 in world to 97. And during that time as well, India performed its best stint in the Asian Cup, in the AFC Asian Cup, which is the topmost tournament when it comes to Asia. So, hearty welcome to you, sir. Thank you for giving us your time and joining in today.
Thank you, Ronak. It's a pleasure, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, in today's discussion, we have a very broad and a specific topic. One is, of course, we are going to delve into the current coaching ecosystem and what all is happening in Indian football coaching. And we are also going to discuss a bit about the new appointment of Mr. Manolo Marquez, who has been in the Indian football ecosystem for a while, won the ISL with the Hyderabad FC and currently coaching the FC Goa team. So he has recently been appointed as the coach, and we are looking forward to what he has in offer, right, for the national team. So first things first, before we get into the entire gambit of things that are happening, I wanted to know from you, sir, that for a very long time, the All India Football Federation has taken an approach to sort of hire foreign coaches, right? So for a long time. If we consider the past decade and so, we have seen that multiple coaches from multiple countries are coming in. So, do you think, and if I have to ask you that, how does the coaching scenario look like in India compared to the foreign nations that we are opting for coaches outside?
Yeah, I mean, um, you're talking from the point of view of the national team or generally the domestic ecosystem for the coaches.
Both, like I said, both. The trend has
Okay.
been showcasing that we are going global rather than developing coaches nationally and helping them, play
Okay.
coach the international teams. So yeah,
Right. So let's take it one by one then. So the first one, as far as the national team is concerned, you are right that we have been hiring, foreign coaches for a while now. And in my opinion, more than the nationality of the coach, we have to appoint someone who we believe, has the capability to take the national team to the next level, right?
absolutely.
Now that depends. Now, how do you ensure that the candidate that you pick for the national team to head the national team is the right person to lead it? Now, you can only do that through, I think, a large component is the track record of that coach. Okay, and generally you'll see that Indian coaches do not have that track record either because they have never got the opportunity. Very few of them have got the opportunity to actually lead the Indian national team. Which actually in turn is related to how much exposure they get at the domestic level and at the international level, right? At the club level rather, where so in the absence of such opportunities, we also see that they do not we cannot see a proven track record because simply because they have not they do not have that opportunity or the history of training or doing really well with at the club level, either in India or abroad. Okay, now of course there are a few exceptions there. You can name one or two or a handful of coaches who have done well in one or two seasons at the domestic level. But I think coaching the national team again is a totally different ball game altogether. And as a result, I think it becomes natural for the federation to actually opt for a foreign coach, someone who has had stints with multiple either multiple countries or similar countries like Asian countries, or who rank similar to who have a similar footballing level as India, or the other. In case of Manolo Marquez, what I see is that because he's done domestically well, he's done well with Indian players. He's won the league, and uh, been he's also helped a lot of young players to get better. So it is not surprising that way. Now, the second answer to the second question is also linked to the first one, where I already said, like that in the absence of a thriving ecosystem where Indian coaches, can get challenged, Indian coaches can get a longer stint so that they can develop hone their skills, they've developed their capabilities further season after season, because at the end of the day, a foreigner will never understand Indian players, the Indian cultures, the same way that an Indian person would, right? However, I think Indian coaches lack the experience at that level, and hence so it's like a vicious cycle. So you know because they don't get more opportunities, they don't get selected for the national team, and because they don't get selected often for the national team, they also do not get the opportunities. So that cycle, they have to come out of that cycle. Of course, we have a lot of youth teams where all the youth teams are taken care of by Indian coaches only, whether men, women, boys or girls. But unfortunately, so far we have not seen any Indian coach from the national youth teams to actually graduate to the senior India team, right? So yeah, so that's how I see the state of Indian football as far as coaches, national level coaches are concerned.
I think you made a very interesting point there, where you said that it's a vicious cycle, where it's difficult for a person to actually reach the top of the pyramid. So, do you think that the pathway is a bit broken, just like it is for players? Where if you can discuss a bit about the current landscape of Indian football, because we have also seen some very talented folks coming up the ranks. So, what is your take on the current scenario and how it is evolving? Say, let us take the case study for since 2012 till 2024, the last 12 years, if you have to
Yeah.
just analyze that. Yeah.
See, I think the pathway is there now because you have a lot of youth leagues. You have so many. You have at least 100, youth teams who play at the national level. Right, there are national championships are there where the coaches can get a chance to lead their respective state teams at different age groups. And you also have like a 5 tier, at least maybe 6, 7 tier domestic system. Of course, not in every state, but the if you look at the top 10 states in football, right? So the national level has now got 4 levels from ISL to I League to I League 3. Then below I League 3, you have the state levels, and within the state, in the in the football hotbeds, the states where football is really popular, it is very common for them to have at least 3 or 4 divisions. Like Delhi has 3 or 4 divisions. Bangalore has the super division A, B, C, right? So with all now this whole at least I won't say in all the states, but in 8 to 10 states now, you'll have such a structure. So which means that there are enough. I think the pathway is very clear. You can hone your skills at the grassroots at the youth level. Then as you become more and more experienced, more and more skilled as a coach, you can lead your state team, or you can go pick up a team for the either the local leagues, the state leagues, or I League 3, I League 2, and so on. Because in all these leagues, it is 90%, 95% are Indian coaches, right? Uh,
Correct.
so, so, so I think the pathway is there, but I think the bigger challenge is the consistency and continuity is not there, and for the
Hmm.
long term.
Okay.
So, in the absence of continuity, development doesn't happen. When I say continuity, basically, can the coach, can as the clubs and the academies, can they create an environment where a coach they are able to identify a coach with high potential and help the coach to grow consistently over a period of 8 to 10 years, right?
Hmm.
Because development actually takes time. Just imagine, you studied in school, so you spent 15 years in school probably, and or if not 15, at least 14 years, 13, 14 years in school, followed by 3 or 4 years of graduation, and sometimes we do masters also. So in all put together, at least 15, 20 years of education we do. In the same way, at least 8 to 10 years, I think, is required in a consistent setup, in a consistent manner for the coaches to develop. Okay, so I think that is a bigger challenge right now in India, as because a lot of time it can be due to variety of reasons. It can be due to that the owners of the clubs and academies, they are not patient enough. They are not. I mean, they may not be able to tolerate short-term failure or accept short-term failure, so they may be quick to hire and fire, right? Sometimes it also depends on the coach. Sometimes the coach is not able to stick to one club for whatever reason, right? They may go out looking for better opportunities, either financially or otherwise. So, but I think all put together, both the stakeholders, the coaches and the team owners, they need to realize that for long-term development of talent, either as a coach or a player, at least 8 to 10 years of consistent support from the environment is absolutely critical.
I totally agree with you. Which brings me to my next question. During your time at the AIFF, I think you were also working on a master plan. I don't remember the name of it. Was it Lakshya? You can
No,
confirm me.
Lakshya was again something that we worked on. With this was a 10-year master plan that was released in 2013, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
But that was followed by more short-term, like 3 to 4 year plans, strategic plans, 4 year strategic plans, of which I kind of co-wrote the first and the second version, which was 2014 to 18, and then 2019 to 22, right? So these two
fantastic.
plans were I had worked on.
Got it. So in terms of the short term and say a bit of a longer term goal, If you can, of course, there are multiple pillars when it comes to writing such a report. You have your player development infrastructure, coaching curriculum, and everything. So I think coach education would also be an important aspect of it, right? So during that time, what were the aspects that you focused on in terms of coach education, and where do they stand as of today? Have they been implemented, not implemented, or where do they stand at? We have no clue.
Yeah, see, I think coach education as a team, as a department, as a project for the federation, it started restructuring itself around 2012. So I think that whole
Okay.
initiative was started after Rob Ban had joined as a technical director. So he realized that without coach education, we cannot really have any long term gains for Indian football. So he restructured it. He started building teams with a long term vision, and he's the guy who actually led the master plan, right? And we helped him to kind of document it and write it. But then he was the guy who was at the who spearheaded the Laksha master plan. And as per that, we have come from there, that point into 2012 to now, for 12 years later, I think we have made rapid, we have come a long way. Still a much, much longer way to go. But long way in the sense that now there's a proper coach education team, and the license courses have become very, very structured. Initially
Okay.
only AFC. I mean, I still remember 2012. We knew that in Delhi, the last, when we said Delhi, in the Delhi state of Delhi, which has a very rich football tradition and very old, right? And the last time that a license course was held in Delhi was more than 15 years back. Meaning,
Oh my God, are you serious?
for 15 years there was no coach education course in Delhi, right?
Okay.
So such examples were common. So since then we have come a long way. So we have now AFC certified courses, right from Pro, A, B, C, and D, and E. Now there's another level that has been introduced, AIFF D, E, right? And then there's a grassroots leaders course also. And during my tenure, what we were also able to achieve was to make coach education a self-sustaining project, in the sense that whatever expenditure was incurred for coach education to conduct these courses throughout the year, enough revenue was generated to actually cover all these expenses. And we had also identified a plan to by which this whole project can grow bigger and bigger, while remaining self-sustaining and self-reliant, without having to depend on the rest of the AFF budget to make it happen. And today I see lots of courses happening everywhere. A lot of D license, C license, B license courses. Now I don't think, and it is also backed by infrastructure, technology infrastructure. Like, people can log in, create their own account, and they can see all the courses that are happening across the country. They can register for those courses. So I think I think coach education as a whole, as far as certificate courses are concerned, that is now thriving, right? So that focus is always there, which is a good thing. Of course, we can do much better. We can actually, my belief is we can grow this by 10x within a few years. But again, classroom training is one aspect of it. The other aspect remains that these coaches need to have good experience on the field. Just having certificates don't mean anything unless we are able to perform on the field, right? So yeah, so that is, so both these aspects. Again, we have youth leagues now. Earlier there were no youth leagues. We have the IWL, we have the IWL2, we have the I League 3. So there are lots of, since then, in the last 10, 12 years, we have seen the emergence of a lot of these domestic competition structures, which act as a good breeding ground for aspiring coaches.
Fantastic. I mean, thank you so much that, back in the day, you and your team actually worked on the plan, and we can see the results. Definitely, the number of coaching licenses that are happening across the country have increased phenomenally. So, we have a lot of viewers who have tuned in right now, and they have a few questions to ask. Firstly, thank you so much for taking the time out in a beautiful Saturday evening to join our show. And we have Tara AK who has a question. The question is, how do you see women's football teams and competitive platforms evolving in the next decade in India? Slightly different from our topic of discussion, but would you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I mean, we always tend to discuss men's football all the time, so I think this question is very, very relevant and is highly welcome at this point. So, it is true that when you compare women's football in India to men's football, the women's football structure is far behind. In fact, there was no women's league in India till about 6, 7 years back. Okay, so it was again during my tenure that we had a good team, we had a very passionate team, so we could actually start IWL for the first time. I think this was 2016, and since then IWL has been organized very regularly. I think barring the COVID times, and this year we also saw IWL two. So that's a change in the positive direction. However, if you compare with men's football, like I said, if men's football has got 7, 8 years in a thriving, in a football state, then women's football probably has only 3 tiers: IWL, IWL2, and maybe there is one small league that is happening at the state level, right? So in that way, a lot of work needs to be done. Awareness is there, but I still feel now, how do I see it evolving? Well, how it evolves will depend on what the stakeholders do and how much they're able to focus. That is the honest, as honest as I can be. So, for example, how much the federation is able to prioritize women's football given its shoestring budget over the other initiatives, right? Because if you have a limited amount of money, limited amount of resources, you have to prioritize. So how much prioritization women's football gets totally depends on the federation. So whether they are able to increase the focus, or they may have to reduce the focus because of various constraints, whether they are able to add to the existing structures and build those even stronger foundations for the long run. So all that depends. But my assessment is that we are a long way away from having a very thriving women's football structure in India.
I think it's also about a lot about participation. I mean, to grow the game, we need more competitions, more awareness around women's football, and for that, I think coaches play a very important role. They are
Yeah.
the front runners. They are the people who are at the front to take the lead and make this happen. So coming back to that, in terms of if I, as an individual, want to start off as a coach, right, and I have some say in my case particularly, I have
Yeah.
played in the past and I am very passionate football lover of sorts. So if I have to join and say startup, what are the possible challenges that you foresee, since you have already been in the system for a very long while? And if I start, what are the stopgaps that might arise in my coaching career? If you can talk a bit about that.
See, I think individually for a coach to develop, I would say the biggest challenge would be the coach only, because, like I said, right now there are enough options to become a good coach, but a lot of times, many people start off with the right intent, and they get discouraged very soon. Okay, of course, Indian football is not as evolved as Europe or any maybe the South Americas, right? But and so a lot of times coaches, like I said, get discouraged and they get demotivated when they see that it is a very challenging, that there is uncertainty in the competition structures, the competition schedules, and of course football is in a very uncertain game, so the results are very uncertain. So if the what I've seen is that if a particular coach remains consistent on his or her journey over the long term, like I said, 8 to 10 years minimum, and
Hmm.
consciously keeps working on himself or herself without getting distracted by either the external circumstances or their internal egos and all that, then if they are able to continue that way, they end up doing quite well for themselves, right? So I think that is the biggest challenge for the coach, aspiring coach, to remain focused over the long run. And for that they have to understand that they need to be development happens only in the long run. we should not expect results within 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. Okay, so yeah, so because there are enough opportunities now, like we have already discussed, there are lots of teams, there are lots of competitions, lots of matches happening. Again, I am not in any way saying that the Indian football ecosystem has reached where it should be. The competitive structure is still very small. It is not enough for a country as diverse and as big as India, as large as huge as India. But still there are enough for today. I think there are enough opportunities. If an individual wants to really become a great coach or a good coach, there are enough opportunities today.
Makes sense. I think we had a question popped up on the screen just a few seconds before, if it can be showcased again. Yeah. Okay, so Aditya is telling good evening. Good evening, Aditya. Hope all's well at your end. So Aditya is from Noida and he's asking that are the coaches in our country are in conundrum about coaching grassroots or competitive football. So I guess his question is, are more coaches inclined towards grassroots, or they all of them should be inclined towards building a career in professional football, say in the top tier? What is your take?
That I think the coaches are the best people to answer. But my assessment is that yes, you have both kinds of coaches. I have met enough number of coaches who want to be only at the grassroots. They don't want to go to the competitive or the hyper competitive level like the senior level, because they enjoy spending more time with the children and the youth. While there are other coaches who absolutely, they straight away want to jump to an I League or an ISL team, right? So I've seen both types of coaches. So it depends on coach to coach, I feel. What we can definitely say is that the youth level has got more consistency, more certainty, and better continuity, because the pressure on winning and losing is not so high. Whereas at the professional level, is the professional level football is totally unforgiving, right? It is high risk, highly uncertain. You know, even the best coaches don't know whether they will still hold on to their jobs, say after a week, right? So that's the kind of uncertainty with which professional coaches work. So it depends on, I think, the risk appetite of the coach, and what he or she really wants in the long run. Okay, so we have both kinds.
Fantastic. Like you spoke about uncertainty, one of the major discussion points for us today is, hiring of Manolo. And as we know that Igor Stimac's contract was extended, yet due to a small dispute, uh, not dispute, but due to the lack of good performance, he was asked to sort of step down, and
Yeah.
we had to sort of shift our gears and take a new leader into the team. So, coming to that, what are your initial thoughts about Manolo being the leader of the Indian football team? Since you have seen very highly reputed coaches like Stephen and everyone in your time, so what are the qualities that you would expect from Manolo to bring in the dressing room?
I think I would say it is a decent appointment. It's a smart appointment, is what I would say. Mainly because of Manolo's success in India over the past, 2 to 3 seasons, right? Because he's won it, and he's been pretty consistent. It is not like he did really well on in one season and then his performance dipped in the second. It is not like that. He's been consistent throughout. His, I think, 2 years he spent with Hyderabad FC, and then one season he's been with FC Goa. So his performances are pretty consistent, I would say, of his teams. So that's number one. Number two is that both the teams. So firstly, Hyderabad FC had probably one of the lowest budget, teams. It was
Correct, absolutely.
one of the teams with the lowest budgets, and still they managed to win the league. And second season again, you may call that a fluke, but then again, second season also did it pretty well, right? And they did it with players who were not the most expensive players, who were not really the most established players in the circuit. So that again is, I think, a very very strong point according to me as far as Manolo is concerned. So, for example, India, when it plays, India is always the underdogs, right? Because we are not one of the strongest teams even in Asia. So whenever we are playing the qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, Asian Cup qualifiers, or even the AFC Asian Cup, most often than not, we will always be the underdog, right? In 80 to 90% of the matches. So with players who are not so well reputed, players who are not the biggest players, being able to help them to punch above their weight, I think that is some a capability that any coach who wants to coach India has to bring. Okay, so Stephen was also a bit like that. That he was not scared of the big teams, and he would relish playing with the big teams. And he's a coach who has in fact a lot of experience. You know, training smaller teams against bigger teams. So that quality, I think that capability is very very important. It is actually necessary for anyone wishing to be the Indian national team coach. And thirdly, that he has been able to develop talent, in my opinion. In the short, again, it is too early to say, but then we could definitely see that a lot of young players started shining under Marquez. So that I think is these 3 points, according to me. I was actually pleasantly surprised when he was named as the India coach. So I hope with Manolo, the fortunes of the Indian national team will turn around. However, only one risk factor is there, which is that he will have to divide his team between his club and the national team. I'm just hoping that, I mean, because of course he will have to divide his time and attention and effort, whereas earlier other national team coaches have been so solely focused on one job only. So even when the international window was not active, even then they were planning, they were thinking, they had time to think and scout and all that. So that, however, again, I think given his experience and given his professionalism, I think he should be able to, organize his own time and be able to do a good job. So yeah, so I'm actually quite looking forward to see the Indian national team play under him and see how it goes.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. We hope that, the fortunes turn
What
and
is
we have great
what is
results.
your what is your take? What do you feel? I mean, does it make you more optimistic or less optimistic as compared to the last appointment?
I mean, see, Manolo has been a good coach internationally as well. He has had his stints in Asia as well as Europe. So, what I've heard from my fellow colleagues who work in the ISL, and also, after looking at what he has done with Hyderabad FC, we have seen our players. So, our player Ashish Rai was a part of his team when Hyderabad FC won. Right. So Ashish Rai, for the viewers who don't know, is a ex BBFS player, and he was a part of the winning team that won the ISL with Hyderabad FC. So coming back to it, Manolo seems to be quite positive in terms of a personality. His personality is very calm and charming. So those things also matter a lot, in my opinion. So yeah, and technically, I think. I don't have a lot of knowledge technically, but what I have seen, he plays a beautiful brand of football, which focuses on winning at most. So yeah, I think things can be positive. And like you had also mentioned about Stephen's fearlessness, which brings me to my next question. That is, one thing is the coach can only be fearless when he has the right support system. He needs to have, folks who are backing him, right? So, from your experience, between 2015 to 2018, what were the strategies you guys had implemented holistically so that Stephen and you all were able to take India from 172 to 97? If you can talk a bit about that, because I feel Manolo might require the same, if not more.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you have raised a very, very important point, like what really helps a national team coach to succeed. Of course, his own capability, his track record, his experience, his understanding of human behavior, his understanding of different cultures, because given India is such a diverse country and the national team players probably will come from 10 different states, right? And each one, and from different social backgrounds, from different economic backgrounds. So leading such a diverse team, I think, requires a special understanding and experience with of human behavior. So so all this is there, of course. All these are high, the coach needs to succeed, but this doesn't guarantee success, because they
Absolutely.
need something more, right? And during like my stint with the federation, I joined just 1 month after Stephen had uh, done. So both of us kind of were very new to the federation, and we navigated the entire journey together. And I left probably about 4 months before he did. But 3.5 years we spent together. I would say that it was a very for me personally, and I'm hoping it was the same for him as well. It was a very enriching journey because we gelled really well. And Stephen, I thought, is one of the most committed coaches, to the extent of some people thinking he's crazy. I feel that he was very obsessive about his work, and it was not a surprise that he was able to deliver results. Of course, with the support of the federation, everyone in the federation, because and Stephen being such a strong personality, he made sure that we supported him, right? Otherwise he would not just give up. And he's he can be sometimes very outspoken, and I think all that, in hindsight, all that worked really well for us. So basically, off the field, what we really did was we spent a lot of time discussing and planning and talking to each other about what we want, what all of us wanted, right? Of course, everyone wanted the India team to do well, but I think we could really talk enough to resolve any misunderstandings or any miscommunication or any sort of misalignment. And operationally, of course, there were still logistically, operationally, there may have been a few glitches here and there, but that's part of the job. But overall, in my opinion, because of this understanding and this whole comfort level with each other, we could really provide him all sorts of off the field support that was required, so that he could really focus on the national team, on the field work. So off the field, our approach was that first be clear about what we want in the long term, short term, like in the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. So the plan was very clear. Stephen was very meticulous in terms of his planning each and every day, each and every, even he was very particular about what kind of vehicle should come to pick the luggage of the players, right? So he was
Okay.
that detailed.
Okay.
And what kind of gear, each and every kind of apparel or gear that was required for the national team. So we used to plan up to that level of detail. And on the pitch, it was totally his call, but off the pitch is where we were quite determined. Of course, as an entire team, we had the national team department with the president, the general secretary, myself. So we were all quite aligned in that respect, that we wanted to give him all the support that was required. And off the field, we made sure that we give our best shot, so that there were as few problems for the national team players, for the coaches, for the coaching staff. So I think that really helped him to focus on the job. And then the matches that we planned, the tournaments that we planned, the training the camps that we planned, all those were very meticulously planned and executed as well. So this and with over time, with that experience and with more experience, in the following years, I am growing more and more convinced that on-field performance of the athletes depends more on off-the-field work, off-the-field preparation than on-field preparation. Okay, because you may prepare everything on the field, you may do everything, you may work hard, but if the off-the-field, dynamics, if the off-the-field logistics, if the off-the-field infrastructure, off-the-field support is lacking, the coaches, the players cannot focus on their on-field performances. So all the preparation may go waste, right? So I hope that with Manolo, the AIFF will be able to give the same kind of support, or probably even better support than what we could, because now we have so many years of learning now. I'm talking about 6, 7, 8 years back. So I hope that we have learned from that, and we have become better, and we are able to provide, if not better, then at least this similar kind of support to Manolo as well. Without which, again, he will struggle as well, right? It is not easy. It is not easy managing Indian players. So India is a very complex country because of its diversity, because of its size, because of everything else, because of the politics, because of the media. So it is quite complex. But Manolo, with so much of experience, I think he has a good chance at succeeding. But yes, the federation should not think that everything is Manolo's job. If they leave everything to Manolo, and if they're not able to provide the off the field support at the right time, in alignment with the national team coach, Manolo will find it very, very challenging.
Absolutely. Like you rightly said, one thing is the meticulousness, what the foreign coaches bring, the discipline that we need to learn from the outside people. They are known for their discipline, and what they have achieved is fantastic. So that is something that the Indian coaches definitely sort of can learn from and implement. And the second part is also that what you spoke, that India being a very diverse country, it is very difficult to manage people in general. So I think we have a very interesting question that just popped up. So if we can have it on screen, I think it aligns with what we are discussing, and we can maybe try and answer that. So yeah, we have Shruti Sabra. Thank you, Shruti, for asking us the question and taking out time to watch the show. So she's asking, what do you think are the best qualities of a good coach? Which maybe could be
Yeah,
anyone,
I think
a junior
yeah, I
coach,
think
senior
the
coach.
most important quality is the coach has to be a master at the human behavior, right? At you know because the job of the coach is to help humans to perform. So football and sports is all about human performance, at human performance at the boundaries, right, at the extremes. So human, he has to be a master at understanding and guiding and resolving human behavior. Okay, it is not about, doesn't matter if you are a bit poor on analytics. It doesn't require a lot of analytics, it doesn't require a lot of scientific knowledge. I think the most, of course, scientific knowledge about human behavior is the most important quality, I feel. Without that, it is difficult to get humans to perform well, and also it will become very difficult for the coach to actually manage set the right expectations, manage it, or guide people, stakeholders who are not players, apart from the players. Like in clubs, you have the club owners, you have the club media, you have the external media, and so on. You have the player agents. So the coach really needs to understand well how different stakeholders, different people in the ecosystem will respond, will react, so that he can create this whole positive environment. Despite everything, all the challenges, he or she is able to create the right environment for the players so that they can simply focus on performing well on the field, right? So I think that is the most important quality. And then secondly, of course, the ability to plan and execute as per the plan, which only happens for someone who has had a good practice of doing it, which is the discipline part of it. So that whatever the team wants, whatever the coach wants, here he's able to deliver that as an outcome as well. So for that, high quality planning, and the ability to execute the plan. Not everybody who plan end up being successfully executing it, right? So I think these two are, I would say, the most important qualities for a good coach.
Fantastic. I hope,
Yogi,
Shruti, that
Ronak,
answers your question.
anything you would like
Yeah.
to add?
No, I think you covered most of it, because human behavior is uh, the most important thing when it comes to coaching a team. Because other than that, when it comes to data analysis and everything, each team has a sports scientist nowadays. Each team has a performance analyst nowadays. Each team has your set piece coaches nowadays. So the nitty gritties are well taken care of. But when a team performs as a unit, the 11 players come on the pitch, it is about the alignment only, and the alignment needs to start from the top, which is the coach. So I absolutely agree with what you just said.
Right.
So yeah, we have another question. If we can have it on the screen, there are multiple questions coming in. I'm really sorry if we are not being able to cater to all. So there is Arun who is asking. Thank you, Arun, for joining in. How much success can a national team coach provide if the quality of players available to him are not of international quality? So I think this is a very
Yeah, yeah.
unique
No, I
and
think it's a good question.
very common
Yeah.
question. Yeah, it's a very common question as well. So if you would like to answer it.
See, I feel, that the job of a coach, irrespective of the quality of players that he gets or she gets, the job of a coach is to help the team outperform, right? And the players to outperform themselves. So I don't think anybody expects the Indian team to qualify for the World Cup directly. I think all the fans expect is that the team, performs to its potential. Now, the depending on the capability of the coach, he or she is either able to help the team do that, perform as per that is perform as per their potential, or the end result is that they end up underperforming, right? So for example, if the with the current quality of Indian players that we have, the national team has the capability to go to the second round of the Asian Cup, for example, right? Or go to the third round of World Cup qualifiers, for instance. So as long as we do that, as long as we are able to punch above our weight, that what we have displayed in the recent past, I think fans will be really, really happy. Okay, nobody has unrealistic expectations. So given that, I definitely feel that the Indian team did not perform to its potential over the past couple of years or so. But it has, even if we take the current crop, whatever resources we have, whatever players we have, and we are able to identify the right players for the right positions, do the right kind of, give them the right kind of support and training, and then make them go to the second round of the AFC Asian Cup and third round at least of the World Cup qualifiers. I think it will be a job well done to start off with, and then from there we take it forward from there, and then we see how far we can go, right? Because even small teams going all the way to win the championship is not unheard of in Indian football. So I think the value of a coach is in helping the players to outperform themselves. I mean, there are a lot of coaches who may win matches and win competitions with the best players available, with the best players in the tournament. I don't think there is any. I mean, of course, winning a championship is always challenging, but I always rate personally. I always rate coaches who are able to help the team, help his or her team to outperform the expectations. Okay, so those coaches are and those coaches who can do that consistently are special coaches, in my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely agreed. So, which brings me back to our Indian coaching ecosystem again. Like we were discussing. So, you spoke a bit, you touched a bit about the 10-year, 12-year plan, the short term and the long term plans that you had proposed while at AIFF, right? So, and you also mentioned that you feel at the pace that we are progressing currently, it can be 10x than what we are doing right now, right?
Yeah.
So, what are the areas you feel that which we can focus on to make the Indian football coaching ecosystem more attractive for the existing players and the ones who are willing to join it?
I think organize more competitions, right? More and more competitions, because coaches need competition just the way players need competitions to develop. Okay, so I think, and don't forget that the entire world football is because of one competition only. So it is the competitions that are driving the football industries. It is the competitions that drive football development and the entire football ecosystems of all across the world. So competitions are really critical, right? It is the FIFA World Cup, for which all the ecosystems exist. I mean, that is the pinnacle. So I feel that more competitions in a structured way and in a more reliable and predictable way will help coaches to do much better. Okay, for example, we are organizing I mean, with whatever competitions we are organizing currently, for example, are we able to announce or schedule those competitions or confirm the schedule of those competitions 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance, so that people can prepare for those? And then secondly, can we give like more number of matches? Can we give longer leagues, longer competitions, so that coaches can undergo that entire journey, right? From pre-season until end of the mid-season to end of the season, that entire journey has a lot of ups and downs, and a coach who completes the entire season learns a lot during the journey. Okay, now that has to be there, and then if a coach can do it a second season, in continuation, then again the learning goes learning graph goes much higher. So in the same way, now if the same thing can be repeated for 3 seasons, 5 seasons, or 7 seasons, I think the coach becomes really, really mature as a result. So in my opinion, create more competitions, but create them in a structured way, and also give them more predictability so that people can plan for those, and prepare and give their best shot. Because if you give me a competition, I'm a coach, and if you announce a competition just 2 weeks ahead, then I just have 2 weeks to prepare, which means I cannot prepare anything basically, right? So I will
Right.
just put together a team somehow, and just make them play, and then kind of change a few things on the fly. But I won't be able to plan and execute any significant strategy, in such a scenario. So yeah, so I think that is something that all of us in the ecosystem probably need to focus on.
Excellent. I mean, very important points that you shared. So we are coming to the fag end of our show. I have one last question, which is divided into two parts. One is, and that what are the primary qualifications and certifications required for football coaches in India to start up? That is one. And second is, we also have a coaching curriculum at NJOGO, which is supported by the NSDC, the National Skill Development Corporation. So if you can maybe briefly touch a bit upon the project, the philosophy behind what we are doing and why we are doing. So these two questions, and I am done for the day.
Sure. Thanks, Ronak, for asking this. I think one, obviously, you have a very structured certification system for coaches all across the world, and that is all aligned with FIFA and AFC, right? So the top licenses in any country are given by the confederation, by the continental federation, basically. So in our case, it is AFC, Asian Football Confederation. So the highest level is the pro license, then AFC-A, AFC-B, AFC-C, and then below that, the AFC has given freedom to the local federations to design their own courses. So we have the AIFF-D, AIFF-E license, and AIFF grassroots license course. So basically, these A, B, C, D, E, and grassroots and pro at the top. So these 7 tiers of certification is what is the development pathway, starting from grassroots to ED, CBA, and pro. And aspiring coaches who want to have the certifications can follow this path. And the federation has a coaches portal where any coach can actually go and create their own login and register, and then once they log in, they will be able to see all the courses which are available, which are going to be conducted in the near future, and they're able to register for them online, which is, I think, a great platform to have. Now, next comes the second question, which is what are we doing for coach education? So basically the second part is, one is certifications. I always say there is one is the question of certifications, but certification is not equal to capability. You may be highly certified, but you may not have the capability as a good coach. I know a lot of coaches who are pro license, A license, but I don't feel that they have a very high degree of knowledge or capability on the field. So certification is one thing. Developing real knowledge, practical experience, and capability is a different ball game altogether. So if one were to prioritize, I would say the capability, developing knowledge and capability is more important, because irrespective of certificate, of course you need certifications to be able to coach at the higher levels. Like to become a I-League head coach, you need to have a minimum of A license. In the same way, some of the national championships, if you want to lead your state teams, minimum A or B license is required. So in that sense, it is like a minimum qualifying criteria, but it does not guarantee quality. It doesn't guarantee quality of execution, quality of the performance of the coach on the field. Okay, so more hence, we as a company, because we are into talent development in football, because we are into coaching players, which we cannot do without coaching coaches. So right from day one, we have, in addition to what the federation runs as certification courses, we have our own training programs, which basically which take the education of the coaches further from where the certification courses stop, right? So we start where the certificate courses end, which is basically by creating a year-long feedback mechanism for each coach, so that they can continue to develop throughout the year, even after the coaching courses, certificate courses are over, irrespective of their certification. So that program goes on, and we have had a lot of learnings of the last 14 years. It has continued, and we have done it every single year. Like last year also, we trained 1,000 coaches. Now we have with NSDC, we have a program which is NSDC approved, and the goal of the program is to train 15,000 coaches over a period of 6 years. Okay, so that is our mission, and that is basically complementary to, that does not compete with the certificate system. That is complementing the certificate system in the sense that those who are certified coaches or those who want to pursue certificate courses, we train them beforehand. Because on the job, they are getting training throughout the year. And if someone says, okay, next year or 3 months later, I want this is the C license course or the B license course that I'm planning, that I've enrolled for, we even do preparatory workshops for them, so that they can prepare really well, and all the money that they're spending in order to get the license, they are able to perform well, and that money is actually meaningfully spent. Because if they fail the course, that money is goes waste, right? So we have an ongoing, so that is the difference between our coach education program and what the AIFF runs. So it is complementary to the AIFF system, and it is like a continuous coach development program throughout the year. And we have had, we have had some coaches, we have some coaches who are A licensed now, and who started off as who started their first coaching session with BBFS, say 12 years back, 14 years back. Today, they are very successful youth coaches or senior team coaches at the state level, who are, and are also A certified, right? So yeah, so that is our coach education program. And we absolutely believe as Njogo that, we cannot develop or facilitate the development of great sports persons without developing great coaches, right? So that remains our focus, that and it will continue to be so in the future as well.
Fantastic. What a parting line, that there is no development without a good coach. So, before we end, one last question from my end, and we have many questions that are there in the repository. So, we will take two more. One is that if somebody wants to be a part of our coaching education program, how do they reach out to us?
So there is, it's very simple. There is a link on our website, and one just needs to, website of BBFS, bbfootballschools.com, and one can go there, and there's a link, and one can submit their interest. There's a form, a basic form, so anyone can go and fill up that form, with all the details. And we have a separate coach education team, and our coach education team will call you back. You'll get a call back from the team, and then you are ready to kickstart your journey to be a great football coach. So it's that easy. Just go on our website, find, click on the link, fill the form, submit, and you'll get a call back.
Fantastic. So I'll request my backend team to just pop up the two questions that have been selected so that we can quickly answer, because we're running a bit short on time. So there's Aditya again. Thank you, Aditya. How do you see next generation of young coaches coming up, well-educated, English speaking, or will it remain old man's job? Okay, quite interesting. What is your take?
Yeah, I mean, I don't quite understand the definition of educated and old man, in this particular question. But one thing is for sure, that all the experienced coaches, I mean, learning goes on, right? So education is continuous, and coaches who do not keep upgrading their knowledge, who do not continue to learn throughout their life, throughout their careers, they are going to have a tough time, because the younger generation is smarter, and of course things change over time. So we have to keep changing as well, and that is true not just for coaches, but for anyone in any industry. It is true for companies as well. Companies that stop learning, individuals that stop learning, that they are unable to go beyond a certain limit. So that is why, and of course, I mean, English speaking has got nothing to do with it. Of course, English speaking coaches can communicate better with foreign players, right? However, I think football is kind of a universal language, right? So the bigger, again, more than the Communication skill obviously helps, but more important than the communication skill is like understanding of human behavior, right? So which we have already discussed. So in that direction, and humans keep evolving, which means that our understanding of human behavior also needs to keep evolving properly. And but unless we, of course, if you understand the basic principles of human behavior, those basic principles remain the first principles. They if they are universal, they will remain as long as they will remain true. They will work as long as humanity exists. So it is very important to understand the basic principles of human behavior and practice those and gain a mastery of those if one wants to be a great good football coach. Okay, and irrespective of whether they're old or new, some of the oldest coaches, for example, Manolo is also quite he is, I don't know his age, but he seems quite senior. But then he's doing well because he continues to learn. That is the only thing. So irrespective of the age, unless we continue to learn, we are not going to succeed for in the long run. Short term success can come, but not in the long run. I hope that
Absolutely.
that answers the query, Aditya.
Absolutely. So we have the last question for the day, if that can be shown. Okay, so Yahia wants to ask, how can I join your academy and what's the fee? Just to add one more layer to the question, if you can also briefly touch upon what we are doing right now, how many centers, and where all are we based? If you can conclude with that.
Yeah, thanks, Yahya, for that question. So we have, two kinds of programs. We have non-residential academies and we have residential academies. So we have about 85 non-residential academies across 25 cities in India. So the fees in those, so that's basically a 3 days a week or a 2 days a week program, depending on whether you opt for a weekday or a weekend program. And the fees typically range from 3,000 rupees per month to 5,000 rupees per month, depending on city to city, location to location. The residential program is something where the players and the coaches, they stay together in the campus, and the whole program includes their education, which is in a mainstream curriculum like CBSE or ICSC, and their tuition fees, their travel accommodation, their food, their entire training and recovery and competitions, all that is taken care of by by our coaching staff. And basically it depends on what you're looking for someone who really wants to play football and train in football at a high intensity, like 5-6 days a week, without compromising on the academics part. For them, the residential program is key, right? Residential academies, we have one in North India near Gurgaon, one in West India in Nasik, close to Mumbai, one in South India in near Bangalore, and two in the east, one in Shillong and one in Assam. So these 5 campuses, we have opened one in each region, so that the players don't have to travel too far away from their homes, those who want to stay in the boarding school. And yeah, so this is the program. And then what happens is, the cost of this program, the residential program, for everything, right from academics, school, as in tuition fees, their food and accommodation, hostel fees, football training, competitions, etc. It comes out to around 4.5 to 5.5 lakhs per year. Okay, and it's the complete package that we give along with the school. And yeah, so, and then beyond that, once the players turn 16, 17, we have our own club called Garhwal Heroes Football Club, which plays in I League 3 and IWL 2 in women. And then we have a partnership with a lot of local clubs, about 7 to 8 local clubs in each of these cities, so that these local teams, local clubs can be used as a platform to introduce our young graduates, 16, 17-year-old players, to professional football or semi-professional football. So that's the pathway that we have. And then, of course, if you succeed, if the players who do well for Garhwal Heroes at the Delhi Premier League or at the I League 3 or I League 2, we help them to get contracts with bigger clubs in ISL and I League. Okay, so yeah, that's a summary of what we are doing. Again, all this information is available on our website, bbfootballschools.com. So please feel free to go and check out. And again, even there, you'll find a form. If you're interested, you submit the form and you will get a call back from our admissions team.
Absolutely. So if in case of any queries, you can always visit our websites, which is bbfootballschools.com. And to end today's chat, thank you so much, sir, for giving us your time. Today, I had a very fruitful discussion. I had multiple takeaways from the conversation, and I believe we will have more such sessions in the future.
Absolutely, Ronak. Thank you so much for inviting me, like I said earlier, and thank you for organizing this. And I think it is for me, for someone who's been in the sports industry for 14 years now. I think this is one of the best ways for me to spend my Saturday evenings. So much better than actually, you know, going for a Saturday night party. This is the best party that can be for a sports fanatic like me. So thank you again for organizing this, and yeah, hope to see you soon again.
So now it's on live that you have suggested that this is the best way to spend your Saturday evening. So we expect you to come weekly or maybe bi-weekly going forward. So yeah, thank
Absolutely,
you
would
so
be my
much.
pleasure. Yes, yes, any day.
Have a great weekend.
All right,
Okay.
same to you, Ronak. Thank you. Thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you.